There's a boundary rising in you right now, one so essential you might not even know you need it yet. If you live with ADHD, you know how easy it is to bend, to overgive, to ignore the quiet warning inside. But the crone doesn't whisper for no reason. Tonight, we're going to find that missing boundary and give you the courage to hold it like your life depends on it. Because in some ways it does. Here's what I mean by that. For women with ADHD, ignoring boundaries isn't just about feeling drained in the moment. It's the slow erosion of vitality over time. You see, every time you override yourself, you teach your nervous system that your needs don't matter. That constant pattern leads to burnout, emotional overwhelm, and even physical illness. And I experienced all that in my life. So, yes, in the long run, ignoring boundaries is not okay. It leads to being unable to protect your wellness, your joy, and your wholeness. So the crone is calling us to treat this with the seriousness that it deserves. Tonight, we're not just going to talk about boundaries in theory. We're going to feel them in the body. We'll invite the wisdom of the crone to show us where we've been giving away pieces of ourselves without even noticing. We'll root into that knowledge before we even pull one card. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Kayla, and this is Maiden Mother Crone Tarot, where we hold sacred space for women with ADHD to remember their wholeness, embrace their magic, and reclaim the pieces of themselves that the world told us to shrink. This is day 18 of the 0303 challenge, where I'm showing up for 30 days to bring messages of joy, support, and guidance for this ADHD collective. Before we begin, let's fully come into this space. Wherever you are, uncross your legs, soften your shoulders, unclench your jaw, and feel the weight of your body supported beneath you. We're going to begin with breathing exercises. And I would like to invite you to do some visualization as you breathe. We're going to breathe in for 6, hold for 2, and breathe out for 8. As you breathe in, imagine the crone's ancient wisdom coming in through your crown, just like the cool night air shimmering in silver or indigo. See it coming through and lighting up every cell of your body with the wisdom of someone who's walked this path before. When you're holding for 2, let that wisdom illuminate any shadow or fear aspect that may come up during tonight's reading, trying to block this knowledge from taking root. And as you exhale, imagine shadowy black mist leaving your body. That mist is obligations, old thought patterns, and unaligned, unspoken yeses that will no longer serve you. We're going to do 3 rounds of this breathing. So I invite you to join me. Are you ready? Let's begin. If you'll give me 1 second, I'll be right back. Sorry about that. My son woke up. You can still probably hear him, but he's with my husband now, so hopefully we'll be able to continue. I did a few extra grounding breaths when I came back. To get back into the space where the crone can speak. This first deck I'm going to pull from is an animal oracle deck. Crone, can you please give us guidance on the boundary that this ADHD collective did not know that they needed? How can we use the sacred no? How can we use the sacred no? Honor the way that we're feeling. Whoa. So we got 3. That was like a dam bursting. It was, whew, that energy just splat. All right, so the first card we got is Crow Spirit, co-create with Spirit. Number 17. Then we got number 24, Electric Eel Spirit, bring your ideas to life. And then we got Turtle Spirit, slow and steady wins the race. This card reminds me of one of my coworkers. Every time I see it, I'll have to tell her about it tomorrow. Slow and steady wins the race. Okay. This next deck is dedicated to the Crone archetype. In my tarot practice, I dedicate oracle decks and tarot decks to the specific archetypes that I work with. I feel that it channels their energy clearer. I feel that it channels their energy clearer and it creates a sacred thread, consciousness, a link of consciousness between us. Sacred communion, really. So Crone, more guidance, please, on the boundary that this ADHD collective did not know that they needed. And earlier when I was doing my work with the cards before going live, I shuffled and shuffled and shuffled and I didn't feel anything. It was really, how do I say it? Empty. It wasn't like a void, but it was like abandoned feeling. And then it was almost like I was coming up against a wall. Okay. So the first deck or first card that we got actually came out in my pre-card shuffle, my pre-live shuffle. It is past, present, and future. And we actually discussed this in a recent live stream in this series. So this concept of working with our past selves, working with our current selves, and working with our future selves has already come up in this series. I will link that video for you in the replay. The next card we got is Unlimited Possibilities. And I love this card. It reminds me of The Secret Garden. Unlimited Possibilities. So that was 4 and 19. And the last card she gave us was Ascension, 24. So we got 24 twice. Electric Eel Spirit and Ascension are both number 24. So that's 6 and a 6. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and pull some tarot. Ooh. I can speak. Okay. Crone, can you please give us guidance tonight? Tarot guidance on the boundary that this ADHD collective did not know that they needed. One that's so essential, it's flown by without their knowledge. First card is the Queen of Pentacles. We have the Three of Cups, and the Seven of Cups, Four of Swords, and one more. Seven of Pentacles. So we have two sevens as well. We had those numbers broke down to 6, and then these are sevens. We have the Six of Cups, right? Yes, on the bottom of the deck. All right, so the first card is the Queen of Pentacles. There you go, now you can see it. Then we got the Three of Cups. Seven of Cups. The Four of Swords. Makes sense here. And the Seven of Pentacles. This makes some sense as well. All right, so the boundary that we didn't know we needed. That's essential. That we didn't know we needed. With Crow Spirit and co-create with Spirit, crows are often seen as messengers, communicating with the other realm, the spirit realm in this realm. They've been very significant in my own spiritual awakening. But I'm being drawn to the light right here. And it's making me think of the heart center, your heart chakra. And I just got this idea of sacrificing the things that you love, sacrificing your passions and your joys. We were talking about bending, giving away pieces of ourselves, giving away that love. Maybe you have an overactive heart chakra. Maybe you're giving love to everyone else, but then you don't honor your own feelings, your own emotions. With electric eel, I'm bringing your ideas to life. This also ties back into this sacrificing of yourself. You can't bring your ideas to life because you are not giving yourself room to pursue them. If you're constantly saying yes to everyone else, there is no time to say yes to yourself, to pursue the things that you're passionate about. But again, Spirit is reminding us here. The Crone is telling us, slow and steady wins the race. This change, this boundary that we are going to uncover tonight, that we're going to find and that we're going to hold and honor and implement into our lives, it's going to be a slow and steady implementation of this. That's how we're going to win. That's how we're going to have lasting change, is by understanding that things don't happen in the blink of an eye. You didn't get to this point in your life in 5 minutes. You got here because you were programmed from your childhood to be a good girl, help, give, don't get in the way, right? And as I just said, we were programmed, our past selves. And with the Six of Cups at the bottom of the deck, it reminds me of childhood, nostalgia, things that happened way back when. And maybe there's a gentleness that you need to bring to yourself with this boundary. A lot of times boundaries, everybody is like put off by them. It's like, oh, it's so in your face, so no. But I think the Crone is telling us that these boundaries, if you really look at them, they're a gentle loving of yourself. Boundaries are not just solid walls. A boundary is just a line between where I end and where you begin, between where you begin and someone else begins, where you end and someone else begins, right? It's just a marker, a delineation. And we can use the wounding of our past to be a launching board, to be a teacher, so that we can understand that in our present and in our future, we're not going to allow ourselves to be hurt. We're not going to allow ourselves to self sabotage. We're not going to allow ourselves to self sacrifice and overgive to the point that we have nothing left for our own family, for ourselves. We're going to use all those past experiences to be a teacher. And the Crone is encouraging us here. Maybe you felt really limited in your life. You felt like you weren't able to achieve. You weren't able to pursue your dreams. You weren't able to do the things that you were passionate about. But with this unlimited possibility card, she really wants you to dream again, to imagine what it would be like if you channeled all of the energy that you were leaking out to other people in a way that was not in alignment with your soul. If you were to channel that energy and direct it towards your own goals, your own dreams, what would be the outcome? It's unlimited. It's beyond. You're going to co-create with spirit here. This unlimited possibilities and co-create with spirit. There is no limit to what you can achieve. When you can show up for yourself, you can bring your ideas to life, right? There is no cap on these ideas. There is no threshold. There is no glass ceiling. You can't contain spirits. You can't. And as you're, I just said glass ceiling, and as you're ascending, you're going to go beyond anything you've ever anticipated. Any dream that you ever had is going to go above and beyond. With the Queen of Pentacles, this queen has created the life that she lives. And it's her ideal life, right? It's not like the Queen of Wands where she's attracted it to her. She's done the work. She's been diligent. She's done the work required in this pentacle earthly energy, in this physical being, in this physical body, in the earth, here and now, in this 3D. She's put in the work. The next cup we got was Three of Cups. And this is the community card to me. To me, it's sacred sisterhood because that is my community, right? You are my community. And so every time I get this card, I think of you. So maybe the Crone is saying that this is going, like she said, slow and steady wins the race. This challenging aspect of us learning to establish boundaries and honor them with the support of each other. Slowly, steadily, we can show up. We can change that pattern. We can stop self-sacrificing. We can step into a place where we understand that we're safe. That we're safe to say no. That boundaries aren't bad. With the Seven of Cups, this illustration reminds me of, head in the clouds, a lot of confusion. But one of the interpretations of the Seven of Cups that I really lean towards is this unlimited possibility, right? So many options, you don't know what to choose because there's so much out there. And maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe you have overcommitted because you are so passionate and you have so many ideas, a million tabs open in the brain, right? ADHD. You don't know which passion to pursue because you're so excited and interested in so many things. And there's the shame cycle of starting and stopping, right? Because in society, if you don't complete something, that's seen as a failure. But how can we put that thought pattern to rest with the Four of Swords? How can we lay it down gently and understand that just because we start something and can't maintain that energy, taking a break from it doesn't signify failure. It doesn't mean that you'll never finish it. It doesn't mean that you're unworthy of starting projects or that it's too late for that passion. All it means was that you honored your energy and took a step back. And that's exactly what we should be doing. But then we have to have the courage. Once you establish these boundaries, once you work with your present self and tap into your future self, really, I mean, some really great guided visualization. Man, words tonight are hard. Guided visualization where you go and talk to your future self and ask them if you don't know what passion, where to direct your energy, where to channel all of your energy that you're going to be taking away, right? When we are letting go of all those things, there's going to be a void, an openness, something that needs to be filled. And you have to decide what you're going to plant in it. You have to decide what you're going to pursue, where you're going to channel that energy. In all of these unlimited possibilities, choose the one thing that lights you up the most, the one thing that's going to bring the highest good for you and everyone else, so that we can all ascend and reach a different level of consciousness. And ultimately, once you decide, once you get to that place where you're like, yes, I'm not sacrificing myself. Every time I'm around that person, it makes my body hurt. Every time I'm around that person, I have heartburn for days. Every time I do that, I can't walk because I'm hurting so bad because I've just done too much work. When you step away from that type of behavior, and you can say things lovingly, you don't have to say no in an ugly way, right? You can say, thank you so much for thinking of me. That's really kind of you, but right now it's just not going to work with me. You can say, honestly, you can say no. No is a complete sentence. And there's, the way we use our voice, it's a tool. No, 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 right? So just, you can say no, but just make sure you're not saying it where it's just not coming across the right way. But there's always multiple ways to say no. And honestly, the easiest thing to do may be saying, thanks for thinking of me. Right now, I'm deciding to focus on myself and pursue my own dreams to make my passions, my dreams a reality. So that means I have to say no to things like this for now. Thanks for thinking of me. Right. That's kind of what's on the table here. So maybe that's the way you should respond. But once you do pick the thing, once you do step into this role of these sacred boundaries as not a big, massive, scary thing, but as a gentle, sacred container for yourself to preserve your energy, to keep you safe, to keep you healthy, to keep you well, right? In my own life. The reason I started meditating and the reason I stumbled into spirituality in the first place is because I was having symptoms of MS. My father has MS, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no. And I found Dr. Joe Dispenza's work and started meditating, and then my life changed, right? I understood that, we can have boundaries with other people, and I've been pretty good with having boundaries with other people in my own life personally. This isn't really something I've struggled with, but something I have struggled with is boundaries up here. Giving myself boundaries in the way that I speak to myself, and the thought patterns that I allow to ruminate. So that could be another type of boundary that you have to work on. Maybe you're like me and you can tell people no. You're like, no, it doesn't feel right. I know how to listen to my body. That doesn't settle. And when I say listen to my body, that's like if somebody asks you something and your stomach drops, you don't want to do it. So why would you say yes? because you're afraid they're going to reject you, that's not a good reason, my friend. If you're worried about that, think about this. You shouldn't have to do something for someone to want you around. If that's the kind of person they are, you don't want them in your life anyway. So, really establish these boundaries and let me know in the comments what they are for you. Is this with a person? Is this with a pattern of behavior that you've been doing? Do you need to establish some type of boundary there? Or is this a mental thing for yourself? Let me know. But once you decide, once you pursue your passion, once you set those boundaries up and you're like, yes, I'm going to show up, I'm going to do this. We got the Seven of Pentacles, right? This is about taking care of something, nourishing it to the harvest, stepping back and saying, hey, is where I'm pouring my energy right now exactly where I need it to be? You know, stepping back and reevaluating, trying to decide, yeah, this feels good. I'm really happy. I'm really chasing my dreams here. I'm not having heartburn. I'm not having digestive problems. Those are just examples, right? However this translates in your life, once you commit to these boundaries, you're going to have to start checking in. And something else that came through earlier is boundaries are going to be new for us, right? It doesn't matter what kind of boundary, if it's a personal boundary, if it's boundaries with others, if it's boundaries in relationships, if it's boundaries with work. Boundaries are everywhere, guys. It could be boundaries with your kids, right? These boundaries are going to be new. So it can be kind of challenging for us to really commit, to really say, yes, we're going to do this. I'm going to stick with this. But that's the thing about something that's essential. When you don't do it, it ripples out, right? It has effects that you have no idea about. So expect some initial resistance here from yourself and from others externally. You know, we're retraining ourselves, we're relearning ourselves on how to actually uphold these boundaries. So when you've been overgiving and saying yes all the time to people and you start saying no, even if you do it kindly and lovingly and supportively like we discussed, you're probably going to have some people that aren't happy with it because the way you've been living fits their agenda, fits their bill, right? And unfortunately, this might show some people's true colors in your life. And if that's something that happens, I'm really sorry for you. I'm really sorry you're going through that. But I want you to understand that once you start showing the world how you deserve to be treated, it's going to start reflecting that back to you. And you're going to attract the people that respect you, that are proud of you for having boundaries, that are inspired by your boundaries and want to set their own, right? That want to show up with you with this Three of Cups. This community here, we want to show up with you. We want to hold these sacred no boundaries, understanding that no is a complete sentence and we don't have to give reasons. We don't have to justify why we're saying no. In some situations, it's beneficial. You know, if you're talking to your partner or a family member, a little bit more discussion can go a long way. But at the end of the day, it's not required. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone. Your no is an answer, is a complete sentence, is the end of the situation. Choose you. Choose yourself. Stop sacrificing yourself. We have the ability to turn on and off certain genes in our bodies just based on the way that we think. It's incredible, really. It blows me away. There's a word for it, but I can't remember what it's called. But I understand I was going from having numbness and needle-like pain in the bottom of my feet, knee pain, inflammation pain constantly, to that being gone just because I started working on my mental space. So if we're able to do that, imagine what we're able to do when we really pursue our passions, when we really pursue our joys, when we really commit to ourselves fully to bring our ideas to life, to tap into the unlimited possibilities that we have to co create with spirit the life that we want. And it's going to start with saying yes to yourself and no to everything else that doesn't feel right in your body, that doesn't align. And you have to keep on nourishing them, keep on planting, keep on watering. Don't give up just because it's uncomfortable. You know, it's going to be an expansion period, it's going to be a growing period when you're stretching into this new version of you, this future version of you, right? So lean on your community. Let me know in the comments. I respond to comments, okay? And then really embody the Queen of Pentacles. Know that your boundaries are just natural. And one last piece of advice I'll give to you when it comes to boundaries is we really want to train our nervous system to understand that boundaries aren't bad. Boundaries don't equal conflict. Boundaries equal safety. So anytime you have to establish a boundary, afterwards, do some type of gesture or some type of grounding activity. Really take the time to get back in touch with your body and make sure it's regulated and make sure it understands that this boundary is safe. Whether that's sipping some tea, putting your hand on your chest and taking some deep breaths. Safe. And just go back to your why. Remember your why. It's harder to keep boundaries if you don't know why you're doing it. So remember, you're choosing your own life. You're choosing yourself, and that's not selfish. That when you do that, you're going to be able to give more generously, because if you give generously to yourself, it's just this reciprocal flow of energy, right? It's a beautiful message tonight, Crone. Sending love and light to anyone that is open to receive. Thank you for illuminating this message of us, Crone. Please give us strength. Help us embody the sacred no. The know that is enough so that we can pursue our own dreams, that we can turn our lives upside down with this unlimited possibility. Give us the strength and the wisdom to use boundaries kindly, but boldly. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. So again, this is day 18. And every time you show up, you're showing up for yourself. You're making lasting change. You're breaking generational patterns. You're breaking the conditioning of society. You're teaching your children, your friends, your family what it is to be a sovereign being, to step into the authenticity of who you are without the limitations that others have placed upon you. I'm so excited to see where this collective goes. I'm so excited to see our remembering unfold. I just want to remind you, come as you are and stay as you become. Bye, my friends.